Hello, everyone. This is Rick, and welcome to Astral Club. This is interview with the Buddha and Moses. Before we get into it, just want to mention a couple things. First of all, Patreon. If you'd like to support this channel and its work, you can certainly do so on Patreon. When you join, you get advanced podcasts, the chat function where you can talk with everyone else, and direct mail where you can ask me questions. If that sounds interesting, just go down to the description and there's a link there. Next up, private astral projection lesson. If you'd like a lesson, learn how to astral project, be glad to work with you. I work with folks now all over the world. All you have to do is go down to the description. There's an email there. Just ask for more information. Lastly, spiritual counseling. If you've had experiences that you have questions about or that trouble you, but it's not the kind of thing that you could just share with just about anyone who in your life. So if it's those types of unusual experiences, chances are I've encountered it one way or another and be glad to work with you. Just go to the description section and there's an email there. Okay, let's get started. Interview with the Buddha. My angel guide facilitated these interviews for me. He said the Buddha had second sight and would be able to see and hear me telepathically. I appeared in a serene grove in the outskirts of the ancient city of Rajagaha. Beneath a broad banyan tree sat Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha, in deep meditation. I bowed respectfully. Greetings, enlightened one. I come not to disturb your stillness, but to seek insight. I am a spirit from the age that follows yours, centuries into what your followers will call the future. I bring questions from a world far more complex, yet still troubled by suffering. He opened his eyes gently. Then let us speak. All beings seek to end suffering, whether in this moment or the ones that follow. Sit, spirit of time yet to come. What weighs on your world? In my age, we have an abundance beyond imagination. Machines that think, cures for diseases once feared, and men flying in metal birds across the globe. And yet, anxiety chokes us. We drown in information, yet thirst for wisdom. We connect instantly across the globe, yet feel more alone than ever. Why? Because you seek stillness in motion. You have built many bridges of thought and matter, but have not crossed the bridge within yourselves. The root of suffering is craving, not just for things, but for the certainty, status, and escape from discomfort. But we are taught to strive, to reach, to build, to improve ourselves constantly. Many believe this is the path of progress. There is effort and there is attachment to outcome. One is the noble path. The other is the wheel of becoming. True progress lies not in building higher towers, but in understanding why you build them. Do you build from fear or from compassion? We fear obsolescence, that our worth lies in what we produce, how fast we evolve. Then you are trapped not by time, but by illusion. A wise being does not seek to escape impermanence, but to understand it. You fear being left behind, yet you carry the universe within you. What could you possibly lack? I thought about that question for a minute because he kind of stumped me there. I said, well, stillness, purpose, peace. These are the things we lack. Then practice presence. Sit with your breath. Watch the mind as it moves. Ask not what the future holds, but what you hold in this moment. There lies your liberation. Do you think your teachings can survive in a world as noisy as mine? They are not mine. Truth belongs to no age. A quiet heart can hear even through thunder. If even one being in your time stops to ask, what is suffering? What is its cause? Then the Dharma lives. Thank you, awakened one. I will carry your words back, though time may twist them. Let them twist what it will. Truth does not age. May all beings awaken in your world and mine. I was called back to my body in the present. Okay, the next part of this double header is the interview with Moses. I appeared just outside a desert cave in the Sinai Peninsula, timeless and dimly lit by a mysterious glow. Walking into the cave, I found an aged man dressed in trail-worn, simple clothing in deep meditation. He had passed over some time prior to my arrival, which is why he could see me and I could communicate with him. God told me a spirit far from the far future would come to visit me in this place. Welcome. Tell me, how am I remembered by the children of Israel? You are remembered as a prophet, a liberator, a lawgiver. But I come from a time where truth is prized over myth. Moshe, will you tell me what truly happened during the Exodus? For those who maybe didn't have a religious education or just not up on the Old Testament, Moses, of course, was the leader of the Israelites out of Egypt, and he led them to the Promised Land, although he himself was not permitted to go into the Promised Land because of various faults. And he passed right before they made it to the Promised Land. But the Exodus is the story of the exit from Egypt, and they're wandering throughout the desert for decades. And there's a reason for that wandering, because from Egypt to Israel is a matter of hundreds of miles. So you might say to yourself, why the heck did they wander in that desert for all those years? Well, that answer does come up, but that's what the Exodus anyway is all about. Okay. Remember, I asked him if he would truly tell me. And by the way, I said Moshe because that is his Hebrew version of his name. Moses is the anglicized version. So I used the Hebrew type version because, well, that's what he would understand. So I asked him, so what happened during this Exodus? He replied, I've waited a lifetime for someone to ask with an open heart, not the scribes, not the priests. You, a voice from what comes after. Yes, I will tell you. Well, let's begin where it matters most, the escape from Egypt. Once again, for those who maybe aren't up on their Bible, the Israelite escape from Egypt is one of the famous stories. There was Moses showed up. He had been set adrift when he was a baby because they were killing, sons, and this Jewish woman wanted to save her son, so she put him in a little thing of reeds and cast him into the Nile. And one of the princesses of Egypt, I guess, found this baby and adopted it. And so Moses, or Moshe or whatever, grew up in the Egyptian royal family. And later on, he found out it was Hebrew, and he had to leave Egypt for a period of time because he ended up killing some overseer that was whipping a Jewish or Israelite slave. And so he was banished into the wilderness for a period of time. When he finally came back, he came back with a purpose, which was to free the people of Israel from the Egyptian bondage and to take them to the promised land. So once again, I requested, begin where it matters the most, the escape from Egypt. Ah, Egypt, the empire was crumbling at the edges. Plagues? Yes, but not sent by my God in thunder. They were natural disasters mostly. The Nile turned red from silt and dying fish. Frogs poisoned the waters, diseases followed. Pharaoh saw it as a punishment. I saw it as an opportunity. So the plagues weren't divine miracles? They were signs, but not from heaven. Nature moved with fury, and I gave the people a story they could hold, something greater than themselves. They needed hope. Miracles are often the shape we give to coincidence when faith is desperate. Think about that. That's a pretty profound statement. Miracles are often the shape we give to coincidence when faith is desperate. That's an interesting statement. Anyway, okay, and the parting of the Red Sea. If you haven't seen the movie with Charlton Heston, The Ten Commandments, Moses supposedly held up his staff, and the Red Sea was parted. And in the movie, they had pretty good special effects for those times. And so you saw the Israelites walking through the mud to the other side of the Red Sea, while these huge waves were like billowing in place. It made for one heck of a good scene for that movie. But it may not have been exactly the truth. And anyway, Moses replied to my request about what about the parting of the Red Sea miracle. He said, that was a trick of timing. We had camped by a shallow marsh near the Sea of Reeds, which is something very different than the Red Sea. It's a much smaller body of water. A strong wind blew from the east all night, revealing land that was just barely crossable. We hurried across it at dawn. Pharaoh's chariots, heavy and prideful, got stuck in the mud. So you didn't raise your staff and split the sea? He laughed gently. I raised the staff, I always did. The people needed symbols. But no, I did not command oceans, I commanded belief. Then why lead them into the wilderness? Because they were slaves, not just in chains, but in the soul. To walk into freedom, you must unlearn fear. The wilderness was a crucible. 40 years. That was not punishment, but preparation. We wondered so their children could be born free, not just freed. Well, what about the Ten Commandments? Sinai, did God truly descend? Yes, I climbed the mountain weighed with doubt. Once at the summit, the glory of God and his chariot descended upon me in a great wind. Words from the Holy One entered my mind, giving me the laws for the people. My dark hair turned white in that time as the glory of God cannot be long withstood by a mere mortal without his touch changing you in mind, body, and soul. When I descended, I carried the stone tablets. Yes, but more than that, I brought back order, law, the beginnings of a people. Let's think about that for a minute. The glory of God and his chariot descended upon them in a great wind. How would you describe a flying ship 3,000 years ago hovering near you? You might describe it as a chariot. Certainly the wind from its propulsion system would most definitely affect you. And the gray hair? Well, we know that very tragic and traumatic experiences can sometimes cause your hair to go white. But there's also an interesting fact that if you're exposed to a certain amount of radiation, it can turn your hair white. That's just my thought. You can make your own judgments. And what of the stories that followed? Manna from heaven, water from rocks. There was hunger. There was thirst. The chariot of God followed the people into the waste. Sometimes food from above was gifted to us when we needed it most. Sometimes I received instructions in my mind from God as to where water could be found. Another interesting statement. So the Exodus as we know it is half truth and half tale. It is truth as told by survivors. History wrapped in metaphor. Freedom requires myth as much as it needs memory. I do not regret the stories. I regret only that people later worship the stories instead of the spirit behind them. And what is that spirit? Hope, defiance, the courage to walk away from empire, not knowing where the path leads, only that it must be walked. I felt myself being pulled back into the present. I thought that was two very interesting interviews with two very different individuals who are known in history, and sometimes you have to wonder whether how much of what we know is history and how much of what we know is myth that has been built up over the centuries. At any rate, I found them extremely interesting, and I hope you do too. If you like that, please hit the like button, share it with those of like minds, subscribe if you have not already, and please leave your comments. I always love to hear them, as well as your questions, and they always make for a good discussion. This is Rick, and I will see you on the astral plane.